Hey guys, welcome back to another video by Simplilearn. In today's video, we're going to be learning all about GraphQL. But before we begin, if you haven't subscribed to our channel already, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to never miss an update. So let's begin. First, let's look at what's in store for us. We'll understand why GraphQL is used, and then we'll move on to understanding what exactly GraphQL is. Then we'll look at some of the salient features of GraphQL. We'll also look at the advantages of GraphQL. Moving ahead, once you've learned the advantages, of course, we'll have to look at the shortcomings of GraphQL. And finally, I'll help you understand a simple GraphQL query. So without further ado, let's jump in. So why exactly was GraphQL introduced? So for that, let's understand the REST API. Now, REST was a good fit and was very popular to expose data from a server. When the concept of REST was developed, client applications were relatively simple and the development pace wasn't nearly where it is today. So REST was a great fit for many applications. However, the API landscape has radically changed. So now, with increased mobile usage, there's a high requirement for efficient data loading. There's a variety of different front-end frameworks and platforms that REST is not compatible with. And there's also a need for fast development and expectation for rapid feature development. And to enable all of these, GraphQL was introduced. So GraphQL was introduced by Facebook in 2012 because the team needed a data fetching API that was powerful enough to describe all of Facebook and also simple enough to learn and use by developers. So this was why GraphQL was introduced. So now that you know why it was introduced, let's see what exactly is GraphQL. So in textbook terms, GraphQL is a query language and a server-side runtime. As the name suggests, GraphQL is a language for querying data. I'm sure you know of other querying languages like SQL, but unlike those, GraphQL does not depend on a particular type of data storage. Instead, you can use GraphQL to query data from any number of different sources. Now, isn't that cool? So some characteristics are queries and mutations. Now, a GraphQL operation can either be a read operation or a write operation, right? So a GraphQL query is used to read or fetch values, while a mutation is used to write or post values. Now, the next important fact is that GraphQL is data source agnostic. So as I mentioned earlier, to GraphQL, where data comes from doesn't really matter. It could be from a database or a microservice or even an underlying RESTful API. Next up is that it's runtime. So GraphQL runs on the server side. It makes it extremely dynamic and hence it's a runtime environment. And lastly, GraphQL is served over HTTP, which means that operations are merely strings and they don't require extra software to query data from the GraphQL server. So this was what GraphQL is. So let's look at some of the salient features of GraphQL now. Now first up is performance. Now GraphQL prevents overfetching. So in traditional approaches like REST, you often end up overfetching, like asking for more data than you need. But with GraphQL, you can ask for exactly what is required. It also prevents underfetching. So the other end of fetching problem in REST API is that not all data that you need is got in a single round trip. So GraphQL helps solve this issue. Next up is developer experience. Now GraphQL data is inherently graphical and declarative. This makes your queries easier to understand and your data easier to work with. It's also strongly typed. This means a more stable API with fewer bugs in development and introduces the possibility of more intelligent tooling system. GraphQL supports versioning, which means that it favors the notion of a single incrementally developed graph. Next up is architecture. Now, the GraphQL architecture primarily decouples the client from the server. Now, UI developers don't need to wait for backend teams to build an API first. A GraphQL schema acts as a contract for front-end app developers to start building and leaves backend teams to deliver on the contract by building the underlying services that serve the graphs. And lastly, we have community. GraphQL offers excellent tooling. From GraphQL, client libraries, GraphQL IDEs, and GraphQL servers, etc. can be developed. And there's also a widespread adoption of GraphQL. It is currently being used by a large number of notable companies like GitHub, PayPal, Glassdoor, Shopify, the New York Times, etc. So these were some of the features of GraphQL. So now moving ahead, let's look at the advantages of using GraphQL. First up is single source of truth. Now, a GraphQL schema sets a single source of truth in a GraphQL application. It offers an organization a way to federate its entire API. GraphQL calls are handled in a single round trip. Clients get what they request with no overfetching. It offers strongly defined data types that reduce miscommunication between the client and the server. And lastly, GraphQL is introspective. A client can request a list of data types available. This is ideal for auto-generating documentation. Now, GraphQL also allows an application API to evolve without breaking existing queries. There are many open source GraphQL extensions that are available to offer features not available with REST APIs. And GraphQL does not dictate a specific application architecture. It can be introduced on top of existing REST APIs and can work with existing API. So these are some of the advantages of using GraphQL. So then you must be wondering, what are the shortcomings or the limitations of GraphQL? So let's look at them. First up is the fact that GraphQL presents a learning curve for developers that are already familiar with REST APIs. So learning GraphQL requires a certain skill set. Next up is that GraphQL shifts work of a data query to the server side. So this could add complexity to server developers. Again, GraphQL might require different API management strategies than REST APIs, especially when you're considering rate limits and pricing. Caching in GraphQL is more complex than in REST. And API maintainers have the additional task of writing maintainable GraphQL schema. So these are some of the limitations of GraphQL. So now let's look at a simple GraphQL query and see how it executes. Now here the first example shows how a client can construct a GraphQL query asking an API to return specific fields in the shape that you have specified, right? So the GraphQL API would return a result like this in the JSON format with the name John. And a client can also pass arguments as part of the GraphQL query as shown here. And when it executes, this is what is returned. So this is a simple GraphQL query for your better understanding. And so with that, we come to the end of this session on GraphQL. It was a simple short video on what GraphQL is. If you have any doubts or queries, please let us know in the comment section below. We'll be glad to hear them and respond to them. And watch out for more videos from us. Until then, keep learning and stay tuned to Simply Learn.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simply Learn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.